fine, 5 o'clock, right. It's 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and it's time for
Craig and Ryland's Magic Review Show.
I'm Craig.
I'm Raley.
Welcome back to another review show right here on Magic TV, where we're looking at another 4 releases that have just come out to the Magic community. There's some good stuff, there's some not so good stuff, there's some brilliant stuff, there's some terrible stuff on this week's review show, and we're going to start off this week by looking at a relatively new trick from Penguin Magic. It's just been re-released. It's a very old trick, but they've just re-released it. So let's have a look at that right now. So first up this week, we have Paul Curry Touch. Now this has been bought out by Penguin Magic, by P3, and the whole project...
I can't believe it doesn't say it.
I know, isn't it terrible? But it's inside. I can't show because of the tutorial, but there it is. P3 Magic. Nick Lecopper is doing the tutorial. He is incredible. Him and Javier, for me, are the two best Magic explainers, teachers of Magic that are around at the moment. They can just take anything and make it sound good and make it clear as to what you're doing. And this is no example. It's about a 40-minute, it's about a 1-hour tutorial. There's live performances. There's a couple of different routines. The main concept behind this is you get a gimmicked deck of cards. And that gimmick deck of cards allows you to predict freely the card that somebody will eventually name.
Do you have to make the gimmick?
Well, you get the deck and you have to write on the cards. It took me about an hour to do this. And it will take about 40 minutes to an hour to prep the deck. So there is a little bit of a...
Or when you get used to it and it keeps on... Well, it's not going to break. But...
No, this one's not going to break at all. Once you've done it, it's one time thing. I'm not even going to call it arts and craft because it's not arts and craft, but there's something that you need to do that will take you about 40 minutes to an hour. Once it's done, it's done. And then that will allow you to then, like I say...
All you need is a Sharpie. That's all you need.
What it will allow you to do, what it will allow you to do is literally predict what that person is thinking of. And that's the main routine. There's also a second handling. But let's just look at that first of all. I'm going to perform the routine for you to Ryland, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. So here we go. This is Touch by Paul Curry. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So Ryan, I'm going to show you a trick.
Okay.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Good. Now, normally, what most magicians will do, as you know, is they'll spread through the cards and they'll have you pick a card. Yes. And then they'll find the card. You do that. Yeah. You do that a lot.
I named the card, though.
But I'm going to have you, I'm going to predict the card you're going to pick before you even pick it. And I'm not even going to force a card on you. I'm not kidding. I'm going to predict the card you're going to pick and I'm not even going to force a card on you.
What?
Let me show you. I'm going to take out a card to make a prediction on. I'm going to use this Joker, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a prediction on the Joker. What I'm going to actually do is write something on the Joker. Now, I'm going to come up here because I don't want you to see what I'm writing. Don't look, don't look. I am going to write what I think you are going to do. And this, my little friend, is going to be absolutely amazing. Can you get the pen for me? That would be brilliant. So what I have right here, and I don't want you to see what's on the Joker, but what's on here is I've written what I think you're going to do. Okay?
Yeah.
Now you can have any one of these cards. It's completely up to you. So I'll spread through. Which one would you like? It's a free choice. There's 52 cards here.
No, for that one.
The Ace of Hearts. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You can't mess this trick up because I'm not going to get you to sign it. I know you normally like to mess my ace tricks up. I don't want you saying later on, I made you pick an ace. If you want to pick the ace, that's fine. If you want to go for something else, that's also fine. It's totally...
I want the ace.
You want the ace. Now, this Joker's been here the whole time, hasn't it? Yeah?
Yeah.
And look, I want you to see... Can you see there what I wrote? You will choose... And you're not going to believe this, but I actually wrote, you will choose the Ace of Hearts. Proof that I knew that you would pick the Ace of Hearts. And I think that is pretty good. So, as Nick said, this routine has been around for a very, very long time. It's as old as the hills. If you don't know who Paul Curry is, he obviously invented Out of This World. This has been around as long as that, but I believe probably Penguin have got the rights for it as they've bought it out as its own deck. And yeah, I mean, what you just saw there, that's how it plays. Now, there's positives and negatives to the routine.
Yes.
But because you really like this, didn't you?
Yeah.
You really like this. There's positives and negatives. Let's talk about both. So first of all,
We got the positives.
the positive is it is a really fair sequence.
Yeah.
So you make a prediction, you put it down on the table, they then pick any card and you show that it's matched.
Yeah.
And you show that you've not matched, but you show that you've predicted it and you wrote on the Joker, you will choose the whatever it is. And you're right every single time. There's no fishing, there's no ambiguity. You're right 100% of the time. That is a positive. Another positive is Nick's tutorial is absolutely brilliant. He even goes through how to write on the card. He talks about everything. There are multiple live performances. No stone has been left unturned. That is also a positive. The live performances especially are a positive because you can see just how strong this plays. Another positive is that Nick goes through a second handling as well, where you predict two spectators' cards. Yeah, so you can have two spectators each think of a card. You write down what you think the card is on two jokers, and you show their match.
Yeah.
So that's really nice as well. Lots of different ways that you can actually do the routine. Lots of positives. The deck is very well made. All of that is really good. The negatives.
I didn't think there were any negatives.
Well, I'm going to talk about the negatives just so that
Is there more negatives than positives?
No, there's more positives than negatives, but let me throw a few negatives at you and you can tell me if you think there really are negatives. Number one, it's a trick deck, so you have to carry the trick deck around with you. You have to carry this deck around. You have to carry this deck of cards around with you to do that one trick. I don't think it's a problem, but I know some people will think that that's an issue. You've got to carry a deck of cards around. For people that maybe carry an invisible deck and carry a mem deck and carry a regular deck, it's got to be something really good to add another deck into their pocket space. So that's something that's worth bearing in mind. Second of all, the deck's not examinable at the end. Not only is the deck not examinable, they can't even touch it at all in any way, shape or form. Now, I don't think that's too much of an issue because the procedure to get to the point where you've predicted everything is so clean. You show the Joker, you write on it, you put the Joker down, they pick a card, you show it's matched. But if they want to examine anything at that point, if they want to examine the Joker, if they want to examine the card that they've picked, if they want to examine the deck, nothing is examinable. That's something to bear in mind. Also,
the only thing they can examine is the Joker.
They can't even examine the Joker.
What?
Right? They can't examine the Joker. The Joker that you've written on, they can't examine that.
Yeah.
So they can't examine the Joker, they can't examine the deck of cards, they can't examine the card that they've picked, they can't examine anything. Nothing is examinable. They can't even touch them. They can't even come close to touching anything. The other thing to bear in mind is, and this is something, I do the Matt test with Matt in the office, where I kind of perform a trick to him and I get his opinion. I was performing that trick 3 deck to him a little while ago. You remember 3 deck by Adrian Vega, the one where it ends up with a block. It doesn't really matter. But does that? And in the main, 3D, whatever it is. Yeah, there's that moment in that routine where you put a prediction card down and you turn it over to show that it's matched, which is kind of similar to what's happening here. You've got a face-up card, you've got a face-down Joker, you've got a face-up card, and you use the Joker to turn over the card.
The only thing that's different,
it's not as clean as just being able to turn the Joker and show it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also you require a table to do it. I mean, you could routine it to do it in the spectator's hand, but not really. Yeah, and again, that comes back to the fact that nothing can be examined with this deck. And I think that there's cleaner ways. So, for example, I do a routine, as you know, where it's a kind of a similar thing, but the prediction is written on a different card and using a cull. And even though the deck can't be examined, it feels like it can be examined because you can show the deck face up and face down. With this, you can't show anything. You can't show the deck face up. You can't show the deck face down. You can't do anything. So that's the main negative.
Yes.
Now, it wouldn't be too much of a negative if it wasn't for the fact that you actually think, right, I want you to think about this logically. Really think about this. What's the effect? Stop fiddling with your shoe, because I know you are. Stop fiddling with your shoe. What's the effect? What's the effect on the audience?
The effects, they pick any cards. Well, you predicted the card that they picked.
You predicted the card that they picked, right?
Yes.
Now let me ask you a question. If you did a very convincing force, like a classic force or something like that, a really convincing force, and you took a Joker and you picked, you wrote on there, you will select the 7 of diamonds, you put that down on the table, you did a really fair force, and you showed the 7 of diamonds, and then you got them to turn over the joker and it matched. Is there really that much of a difference from the layman's point of view, from a spectator's point of view who knows nothing about magic? Is there much of a difference? Because I guarantee you, if I said to you, okay, here's a great trick that you can do next time you're at your residency. Just write down on Joker, you'll pick the 7 of diamonds, force the 7 of diamonds, and show them that the Joker you've predicted is that. You'd go to me, that's not a particularly great trick. That's the worst possible revelation of a force card ever. Hang on a minute, what? I'm just writing down a card that they're picking and the card matches. That's not a very good trick. Because it's so simple, right? It's just a force and a prediction. But that's exactly what's happening here. The only difference is magicians are getting excited about it because it's a free choice. But from the spectator's point of view, from the audience's point of view, if you give them, if you do a force that gives them a free choice of card, do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. What I'm trying to say is it as, will you seriously stop fiddling with your shoe? Seriously. I mean, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I think it's a lot. You know, the reason I bring up the fact that it's a gimmick deck is because there's a lot here for what is in essence a prediction of a forced card. That's what we have here. We have a prediction of a forced card. Now, you could argue that's the invisible deck, right? The invisible deck is one card's turned over and it's their card. And you'd be right. And the invisible deck can't be examined either. So, but, you know, the invisible deck can be done up here and you don't need a table. And I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know. I just think that this is a bit too simple of an effect.
Yeah.
In order to go through, in order to get to where you need to be. I think there's way too much procedure for what is basically, in essence, a very simple prediction trick. I think it's good, and I think if you're a beginner to magic, I think this is a great way to do this in a very clean way. And I think if you show magicians, they'll go, oh, that's really clever, I like that, because it is a very clever method. But I think that for carrying a full deck of cards around with you to achieve the same thing that you could achieve with a force, I don't know. I'm
going to give this 79%.
79%, that's what I'm going to give it as well. Like, it's got so much going for it. It's a very clean method. It's a very good tutorial. There's live performances where people absolutely love it. It's very well taught. There's so much. The decks work good. The packaging's good, as you would expect from Penguin. I just don't think I'm going to do it. So I'm going to give it 79%. You're not going to do it either. No. He's not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But if you're looking for that, if you're looking for a way of having a very clean prediction of a playing card that's freely chosen, then this is one that you absolutely need to go for. But for me and him, 79%. Not going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have another routine by 7 Magic. Now, we're not too keen on 7 Magic, their last release. Do you remember what the last thing was 7 Magic brought out?
No.
It was that see-through box that we then systematically destroyed. You know the see-through box? Yeah, I think we've still got the lid. Yeah, we've still got bits of it.
We still have remains.
We still have the remains of the box. Yeah, move it. It offends me. That's 7 Magic. So that was one of the worst tricks I've ever seen.
Ever.
This is another one of those irritating tricks where they have a 7-minute tutorial. I am sick to death of tutorials that are literally just 7 minutes long. There's no substance to the explanation at all. This is even worse because they're speaking in a foreign language and there's no subtitles. Now, that's fine. If you know, that's fine. I'm not going to stop creators from anywhere in the world releasing magic. But if you're going to market it to an English-speaking country like England, and it needs to say on the ad copy, the tutorial for this is not in English. And I don't understand. This is the second product now that we've had in a couple of weeks where it's not in English. So you have to kind of really guess as to what the thing's about, isn't it? But we watched it. It's only a 7-minute tutorial. We guessed as to what the method is, and I think we're right. And Ryland's going to perform it for you. I'm
not actually going to do this.
This is well made. You've got to give it that. It's well made. Yeah, it's well made.
It's got a little dent.
It's got a little dent because you just mashed it. It's well made, but what it is basically is very uninspiring.
Wait, I knew how.
What you have the effect is a handkerchief. You show this as solid. It's got a solid bottom. You take the handkerchief, you push it in. Solid. Yeah. You take the handkerchief, you push it in, and you pull it through the other side. In fact,
both things.
let's get Ryland to do a performance of it, and then we'll talk about why it's not that great.
I'm going to show you a trick with a metal tube, a solid bottom, and a red handkerchief. So this is a solid bottom. Nothing can get through that at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the handkerchief in this bottom. As you can see, it's solid. Still solid. Will be for a very long time. I'm just going to push this in like this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it. So it's the solid end, but how can I put it like this? And get the two ends like that. And if I want to, I can push it all the way through, and you can tell it has a solid bottom.
Perfect. Okay, so that's the routine, and yeah, I mean that's what he does on the tutorial. He does that. That's exactly what he does.
He doesn't.
And
he just says. He just pushes it in and goes.
Yeah, and it's very uninspiring. And the reason why it's so uninspiring is because it ain't that good a trick. I mean, there's a million ways to perform a penetration effect. You know, if you've got a silk, you can do the silk through the.
I'll keep the silk.
Yeah, I know. Let me finish. There's that thing where you pull the silk through the microphone stand, or the silk through the rope, or something like that, or the silk through the arm, or you've got that thing where you pull the silk through the phone. Anything is better than that. That is way more visual. This is not visual at all. Now, there's another performance of a routine at the beginning of the 7-minute thing. I say performance; it's done to camera, but basically what happens is he shows this. He puts a bracelet in it. He then puts some wool in it, lights the wool, it blows up, and then he shows that the bracelet's gone. Now, he doesn't actually even explain that in the tutorial. And that's not because we didn't understand him, because we didn't, but we watched the entire 7-minute tutorial to try and figure out what was going on. And there was never any mention of that again, was there? It just went on about the handkerchief the entire time.
Yeah, there was no, we've got this.
Yeah. Now, I think I understand what's going on, because knowing how the handkerchief thing works, I understand how that works. But again, does if you're going to make a bracelet vanish, or you're going to make a ring vanish, this is just like
Would
overkill.
a ring fit in there?
Probably. But it's overkill. It's overkill. There's much better ways to make a ring disappear than using this thing. So yeah, I mean, it's well made. Don't get me wrong. It's well made, and the handkerchief is nice. You know, it's a nice silk handkerchief. It works, but it's just very uninspiring. You wouldn't do this in a close-up gig, I don't think. You wouldn't come out as a close-up gig and go, right, so I've got a see-through tube, I've got a aluminium tube here, and I've got a handkerchief. What shall I push this handkerchief? And even if you did it in a close-up job, technically you could. But people would just be like, well, that's rubbish. It's just like cringy magic at its finest. You could probably get away with it in a kid's show, but even in a kid's show, it's kind of very uninspiring. It's kind of like, as a kid, it's like, I'm going to make this handkerchief go through the solid bottom of this tube. Yeah, you could probably pull it off if you wanted to. You could go, look, this is solid. It's solid. Look, everyone, you could go around and say, touch it, touch it, touch it. Is it solid? Yes. And you could start pushing the handkerchief in, and you can have some gags of pushing the handkerchief in. Probably throw some gags in there or something, but and maybe do some look no see. So you kind of have the handkerchief in at that point, and you go, right, okay, I'm going to make it go through the. I'm going to make it go through to the other side. Everyone say abracadabra, abracadabra. No, it's not worked. It hasn't gone through to the other side. I wish it had, but it hasn't. It has. Oh my gosh, it's gone through to the other side. That's amazing. Look at that. That's absolutely brilliant. And look at what. But it's still. You'd have to. There's so much better magic that you can do than this. This is just a really. It's just pants, really. What do you think? I'm just talking non-stop.
It's very good.
Do you not like it? Why are you wanting to keep it then?
I just want to. That just looks cool.
You're going to put it on your little magic shelves.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
And this.
But you're not going to actually do it in a show.
No.
Fair enough. So what are you going to give it? I'm going to give it. I don't know. 30%. I don't think it's great. It's well made. No, I'm going to up it. That's too harsh. I'm going to give it 60%. It's well made.
I'm the one who's giving it 30.
It's well made. if you have a burning desire to push a handkerchief through an opaque metal tube, then this is the way to do it. But I can think of a million ways of doing this better. What are you giving it? 30%.
Yes.
He's giving it 30%. I'm giving it 60%. I'm giving it 60%. Let's move on with the next review. So next up we have Focus by Peter Eggink. He hasn't bought a trick out for a while. He's back now. And we've spoken.
Another stupid one.
Stop it now. Stop it now. Look, here's the thing. I really wanted to like this. I really wanted to like this because I've mentioned before on this channel, I used to be a big fan of Peter Eggink, and the last few releases we've not liked. They've not been very good for a variety of different reasons. They've not been very good, and I really wanted to like this. And I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, it looks okay. I mean, it looks similar to something like Holy POD from Richard Zelmaniak from like the 1980s, and it kind of has a similar look to it to some of the stuff that I've seen various different gaffs have, but maybe it's got its own unique take on it. And it is a unique gimmick. It does have its own unique take on it. First of all, I think I need to point out that the tutorial is 7 minutes long. And there's no live performance at all. It's just Peter to camera, but sitting outside, just basically explaining what the trick is and explaining how it works. And explaining what the gimmick is and so on and so forth. Now, I can't perform it for you. And the reason I can't perform it for you is because the gimmick is broken. It wasn't straight away. It was about an hour or two. But even
after the 5th.
Yeah, even before it broke, it wasn't looking very good. I'm going to talk you through what this is. I'm going to talk you through what the effect is. I've got to be honest, I don't like it. And yeah, we're really disappointed. I really wanted to like this. I really, really am fed up with saying that Peter Eggink tricks aren't very good, and I really wanted to like it. Look, you can see we've been practicing it. That's one of the practice cards. So what it is basically is you need a red deck and you're supplied with a blue back card with a hole in it. Now the problem with this is
that does not look suspicious at all.
It kind of does. This cannot be examined at all in any way, shape or form.
Not even just a little touch.
Not even just a little touch, and it's broken now, which is why I'm holding it in this position. But you could flash the other side quickly, but you can't have that examined. Now the idea is
like that,
yeah, I know. Now the idea is, let me explain what the main problem with is, other than the fact that it's broken. As I say, within about an hour. So the effect is, it's a finale to an ambitious card. So you do whatever ambitious card that you want to do. And I'm going to explain exactly what happens here. And because that's part of the reason why I don't like it, outside of the fact that it doesn't look good and it doesn't work. What Peter suggests you do in the 7-minute tutorial is he suggests at the end of your ambitious card routine to have a circle drawn on the back of a card that's already been signed and have them put their initials inside it. That's why it says RAP there. That's Ryland's initials. And then you put it into the middle, but you do a tilt break, right? Okay, so you do a tilt break so it looks like it goes into the middle. And the whole idea here is it's going to go on top of here like this. So this card here would go on top of here like this. So they could see the top card of the deck through the hole. And then what would happen is their signature would just appear and you'd take this off and that would be there. Now, in order to do this, the trailer makes it look like that's what happens. It makes it look like it goes into the middle and you put that on top of there. In reality, the tutorial goes like this. So once you've done your tilt break, you then have to do a milk shuffle, okay? You have to do a milk shuffle so that the card ends up on top of the deck. And then what you have to do is keep it wrist killed, and then you have to put this on top of the deck like this very, very quickly, and cover up the card. For me, that's an issue. That's a big issue because that moment right there, I don't think is very clean. If you're going to sell a gimmick as being the ultimate way to have a card come to the top of the deck, I think you should be able to very cleanly, and I've seen a load of different. WoW is a perfect example, the face down WoW, where you show that apparently there's nothing there and boom, it just appears on top, right? But with this, you have it on top and you have to kind of cover it up very quickly and then get yourself into this situation. Yeah, it has to be a red deck. Now, so that's the first major problem. The first major problem, in my opinion, is from a procedure point of view, I don't think that's the cleanest way of doing it, because you've already got this dodgy card that can't be examined, and he doesn't talk about any justification for this card at all. It's like, hey, I've got a card with a hole in it. I'm going to show you something with this card with a hole in it. I'm just going to put it here on top of the deck. He doesn't explain why. It's there because it's part of the method, but he doesn't have a reason as to why that card is there. But whatever, you can probably justify it. But you put the card on here, you can't show the top card of the deck, and then you come forward, and even if it worked, which it didn't, it's broken now, so it's definitely not going to work. But even before it broke, it was working like 1 out of 4 times. We'd filmed it, like it broke as we were filming the performances. I'd done it 3 times, and it didn't work every single time. So we had to film it again and again and again, and after the 3rd time it broke. But the whole idea here is that you put this on here like this, so you can see through the hole, and the idea is that you can see it's not working. The idea is that you're meant to riffle, and you just see the initials appear, and then you take this off and you give them the card back. But again, there's no reason for this at all. No reason for it. It's just boom. But even if it did work, there's ways of doing that you don't need a gimmick for. So for example, stand up, move off. Yeah, so if you do a tilt break, yeah, same thing. You sign the back of the card. You do a tilt break. Okay, so you put the card second from top. Rather than doing a milk shuffle, if you just do an Erdnase change at this point, you know, boom. That's basically the same thing. But I'm not needing to have a gimmicked card that can't be examined before, during, or after. And it's more visual in a way, because obviously, you know, you're not having to put a card over it. They can see the whole deck, and they can see everything, and then boom, the card appears. And you got the same moment of being able to turn it over. So for me, it's solving a problem that doesn't exist. It's a gimmick that's being used to make a card come to the top of the deck in a visual way. But there's a million different ways of making a card come to the top of the deck in a visual way. You know, I know some people disagree with me about Lux. I think Lux is amazing. You think Lux is amazing. But the bottom line is, you know, Lux would achieve that same thing, you know, with the ambitious card thing on there, which is what I'm doing all of the time at the moment. And you could argue and say, but you need a UV light for that, and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, that's your opinion. You know, I know some people don't like Lux, and that's cool. But even if you don't use Lux or another gimmick, just the fact that you can do an Erdnase change and get basically the same thing, that's better, in my opinion, than using a gimmick that can't be examined before, during, or after. The other thing is, this thing has broken. Now, it uses elastic thread by the looks of it. I don't know.
I thought it was invisible.
It's not invisible thread. It's elastic thread. I have a strong feeling that he could have taught you how to actually fix this. But he didn't, because it's only a 7-minute tutorial. So there's no live performances. It's very half-arsed. One of the things that I've always liked about Peter in the past is he's had an in-depth tutorial. But it's like here, he's just phoning it home. It's just like, hey, this is a gimmick. This is what it does. This is how you use it. No talk about how to actually fix it if it breaks. No talk about the audience management side of things. No talk. I think one of the reasons I was struggling with it is there's no information on how to make this work smoothly every single time. And any time you supply a gimmick with invisible elastic thread, I think that you need to have a section in the tutorial on how to fix it, because it always breaks. It's going to break over time. In my case, it broke sooner rather than later. But anybody who's practicing it, it's going to break, right? So yeah, you see what I mean? See where it's broken on the other side? Yeah, don't. So there you go. And you can do the same thing without actually needing a gimmick. I'm going to give this. I don't know. I'm going to give this 10%, 5%. It's just not. It's not good. 0.100. It's just not very good. It's not. I feel really disappointed. Well, are you mad or you're just disappointed?
It's not less than 0. I'm just disappointed. It's not less than 0 though. It's 0.
Yeah, I just wish. Really wish that Peter had hit a home run with this one. I really do, because I know he's got it in him. Unfortunately, Focuz is not the trick that's his comeback trick. Unfortunately, it's just not very good. So the final routine we've got today is QR prediction by Gustavo Raley. He's one of your favourite magicians, isn't he, right?
Yeah.
Gustavo Raley brought some of Ryland's favourite tricks out, and Gustavo Raley has brought out QR prediction, which is basically the old barcode gag, isn't it? It's like the old barcode. It's like you're thinking of something, and you've got a barcode, and the barcode reveals what they're thinking about. You've got it there. Go grab it. So you can. So you just bring it over here. You can get these in several different versions. So you can get a cartoon.
We got a history one.
Yeah, we've got a history version, but you can get a superheroes version and a cartoon characters version. This is for the serious.
The clock of history.
Ryland decided to call this the clock of history, which I thought was quite good. And the whole idea is it'd be great for a parlour show, really, to be honest. You show different famous historical figures. You have somebody think of one, and you turn around. You've got a barcode. And when they scan the barcode, it takes them to a page about that, like a Wikipedia
why
entry.
Don't we show them? Why don't we show them?
Yeah, Ryland's going to do a full performance of this. So let's have a look at the performance of the QR prediction.
Right, I have a clock of history here.
Okay.
And I'm going to use this to do a trick on my mum. Can you hold this for me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so on this clock of history, we have lots of famous people like Marilyn Monroe. We have Elvis Presley. We have Gandhi, we've got Michael Jackson. We've got lots of famous people.
Yeah.
From history.
Yeah.
That's why I call it the clock of history.
Makes sense.
Okay. Now, Mom, I want you to pick any person on here. I'm going to use that person to make something random.
Okay, anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Elvis.
Elvis. Now, you want Elvis, so ELVIS. So you got Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
Now, if you said something different, like if you said Gandhi, you would have got GHANDI. You would have got Jobs.
Okay.
You got lots of different things on here. Right. So you got Charlie Chaplin. Now, you sure you want Charlie Chaplin?
Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't seen this, but on here the whole time I have had a QR code at the back. I want you to scan this QR code for me. Pass it to Dad.
Yeah, there's my camera.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me scan this. Here we go. Okay, it's popped up. There we go. It's opening a biography page for Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, that's
Very, very good, Ryland.
And do you know what? This QR code that's been here the whole time.
Yeah?
Watch this.
What?
For Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah. Check that out. The QR code's changed into Charlie Chaplin. How cool is that? Okay, so that's the routine. What I like about this is that if you did this in a show, I think this would make a really interesting interactive trick. And what I mean by that is I think you could get one person from the audience to, in a parlour show, for example, you could get one person in the audience to name the person. And then when you turn it around and you got the QR code, I think you could have everybody in the audience scan it. Because if they zoom in, they could all scan that QR code. And they're all going to open up their phones at the same time and end up on the page that reveals your force character. So I quite like that idea. I also think it'd work really well for a kids show. It'd work really well for lots of different environments it would work in. My one problem with it is, and you and I haven't spoken about this, and I want to know what you think. I think the force is kind of weak.
Yeah.
I think the force is kind of weak because I think if you say to somebody, think of a celebrity, think of a famous historical figure, name it out loud. Oh, you want that one? Okay, let's use their name and spell their name. I think it's kind of, anybody who's half intelligent would realise that there's some chicanery going on here. I think that if you just want them to name a famous person on a list, you just get them to do it. I don't like the force. I don't know what you think.
I don't like it.
However, I do think that you can still do this as a gag. And what I mean by that is, and I was thinking about this, if you put this whole thing into an envelope and you hung the envelope up on the stage, yeah?
Like Izzy did.
Like Izzy did in BGT. So you hang that envelope up on the stage, right? And then you have lots of different cards that are roughed and smoothed. And each card has a different person on it. A little bit like a celebrity smart arse. And then behind it, you've all got Charlie Chaplin. So you show them and you say, look, I've got, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You've got 8 historical figures here. You've got Charlie Chaplin, you've got Gandhi, you've got Steve Jobs, blah, 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 blah. You've got all of these. I'm going to mix them up. Can you touch one? And because it's rough and smooth, they're obviously always going to end up on Charlie Chaplin. And you say, look at it, remember it, I'm going to put those away. And you say, now this envelope's been here the whole time. If I had a picture of your chosen person, would that be good? And they'll say, yeah. And you go, of course it would. Who are you thinking of? Charlie Chaplin. And you take out the envelope and you open up this and you say, look, it's Charlie Chaplin and all of the others. And it's almost like it's an extra gag. So it's kind of like, it's not just a picture of Charlie Chaplin, it's a picture of everybody. And then you go, no, I was just joking. I've actually got a prediction on the other side. If that had Charlie Chaplin, would that be good? And they go, yeah. And you turn it around and it's the QR code. And then you get everybody in the audience to take out their phone and scan their QR code. And when they do, they open up Charlie Chaplin. I think that'd be a really cool moment. Yeah, and then you do that and the paper goes everywhere and it turns into Charlie Chaplin. That's why I like this. I like this. I think the Force is the worst force of all time. Yeah. And I think it wouldn't fool a blind monkey. However, I plan on doing it like this. I actually plan on getting a superhero version and a cartoon version. And I think this would make a great opener in lots of gigs. I think this would make a really good, funny opener. So you just bring out the envelope to open up. And you say, hey, I'd like to show you something with it, like superhero. You know, who here likes superheroes? I've got a whole bunch of different superheroes here. You over there, can you just pick one for me? Don't tell me. It'll be a very quick thing. And I love that, like you say, I love that visual of having that that barcode change into the person's face. I really do like that. So, yeah, I mean, for that reason, if it was down to, if there wasn't another way of forcing it, I'd say this is terrible because that is flawed in my opinion. But because you can, you know, I think you could force, well, and it doesn't have to be rough and smooth cards. It could be a clear force bag. It could be a quantum deck. You know, you can have a quantum deck and have them name a number and the number they name is the force person. There's a million different ways you could do it. But I think doing it that way is going to make it a really good routine. I want to know what you think, Ryland. Go.
I don't like the Force, but I like everything else.
So if you use the different force, because let's be honest, you've done some dodgy forces in your life. May I remind you about your Blackpool act? I've got a bowl over here. There's 100 different ways of actually feeling when you watch magic. Just reach in there and grab a piece of paper and look at it. Don't look at any of the others. Just look at that piece of paper. Kind of the force is on the same level, really, mate, when you think about it. So, yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is you did that act, and it wasn't about the force, was it? Mm. It wasn't about the force. It was about the Rubik's cubes going into the thing and everything.
This is kind of about the force.
This is about the force because you reveal this is that. It's very really well choreographed and produced. While this is literally about the force. Oh, you're thinking of this person. Boom! I predicted it. So the force has to be better. The force has to be better with this. I love this. I love it, but not the way that Gustavo explains it. But with a little bit of extra bits and pieces, I think you can make a real feature of an act out of this. In a kids show, a stage show, this is not a close-up piece, I don't think, but it is very good. I'm going to give this 98%. I love this. What are you giving it?
For the history version, I'm going to give it 79.
Because you wouldn't do this version?
I wouldn't do the history version, yeah.
What about the superhero version?
I would give it 99.
99%. Well, you are getting the superhero version.
And
so 99.
You're getting mine. Yes. I'm going to have it. And then you need to get yourself one.
99% from Ryan, 98% from me. It's really, really good. But if you're going to get it, consider using a different force.
And that's another review show in the back. That's another review show in the back. That's another review show in the back.
It is another review show in the bag. Guys, thank you very much for joining us right here on Magic TV. We really appreciate it. And don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, you got to just like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Myself and Ryland are going to be back next Wednesday. If there's a particular thing that you want to see us review, we are more than happy to review anything. All you got to do is let us know. If you haven't already done so, go and check out the NETRIX at www.thenetrix.com. It's where Ryland spends most of his evenings. And also, while we are at it, if you haven't already followed this young man on Instagram, please do so. Where are you at in terms of followers? You're almost at 4,000 now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, almost 4,000 followers. By the time this goes live, you might even be over 4,000. So
about a month ago, I was on
700.
700.
Yeah, he's blown up. So if you haven't,
a month later, 4,000.
So if you haven't followed him on Instagram, please do so. Or YouTube. He's on YouTube as well. Either way, we'll be back again next Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Craig.
I'm Ryland.
We'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cool. Stop it.
And start it.